Hello, welcome back to another video. My name is Brandon Watts, and today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite tips when it comes to photographing wood interiors, and that's when it comes to keeping the wood's natural color intact. You see, oftentimes when we're bouncing flash off reflective materials, such as wooden walls and floors, our light bounce tends to pick up all the colors of that wood and reflect them back onto the parts of the image that we're trying to light up. This typically would pose a problem if we're trying to white balance a room but can't find enough white to bounce off of. And even if you did increase the amount of white surface area to bounce off of, as we'll see, the rest of the wood interior is still going to reflect orange and yellow where we don't want it, causing the wood color to look unnatural. So how do we handle this obstacle? Well, we're finally going to take a look at how the HDR ambient layer is more than just a luminance blend, but also how it can save you in cases that the flash pops are resulting in too many unwanted color casts. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so here we are in Lightroom, and you can see that we're going to be editing this all wooden room. The only thing that's not wood is going to be this white ceiling up here. And you can tell that I'm actually using a reflector in this one to bounce off of the reflector as well as the ceiling. I'm increasing my surface area so that way more of the light hits white instead of bouncing off of wood. It's not really necessary when bouncing off of wood. I just wanted to try this out, and if we look at the dates, I actually photographed this about 3 months ago, and this was the first and last time I ever actually used this reflector. It did work, but it's not necessary when it comes to real estate photography, so I wouldn't go rushing out to go and buy one unless you want to try it out yourself. But this is going to be our scene. We have our 3 exposures from dark to light at 2 stops apart, followed by our overhead flash pop tilted up and away from the scene so that way it bounces off the back wall and lights up the scene. We have our side-to-side flash pops, as well as our back room and our window pulls. So what I'll do is go ahead and shift click to select all. I'll make sure my auto sync is turned on by hitting this little delta right here. Auto sync is turned on. I'll go ahead and first decrease highlights by about 40. I'll do the same for shadows. Doesn't have to be exact, that's okay. I'll come down to lens corrections. I will enable profile corrections. I'll also enable remove chromatic aberrations. I'll go into the manual tab and I will increase the defringe by 3 on both the purple and green sliders. Now that that is done, we can check our white balance on these exposures, which this is not too bad. It looks like there's a little bit of magenta inside of or on these walls. I'm gonna just decrease. That looks okay. All right, now I'll select the flash pops except for the window pulls. I'm only gonna select the interior flash pops and I will adjust for those as well. Let's this one has too much magenta. Go ahead and decrease that. It's a little too green. All right, that looks nice. That looks nice. Now these should be about the same. Yep, these look about the same on the white balance. And for the window pulls, I'll go ahead and just turn this to a daylight, and that's a little green and blue for me. So I'm gonna raise up the temperature a little bit, and I'll raise the tint a little bit. All right. Now I can shift click all of these again. I'll do a right click, edit in, open as layers in Photoshop. Okay, now that everything is brought into Photoshop, first thing I'm going to want to do is run my custom action. And if you haven't seen, my custom action in action, check out the video above to see the breakdown and to show you how to create one for yourself. Okay, now I will disable these window pulls. I'm going to bring these up to the top. We don't need them right now. Those are disabled. And I will disable this ambient blend. Now, let's see here. Let's work on these side-to-side flash pops. I will go ahead and turn these 2 into normal. And I will go ahead and create a gradient blend, which is just a white mask with a gradient from black to transparent to mask myself out. There we are, there we are. Now I can group these 2 together, set this to a screen blend mode, and we're looking kind of nice. Let's go ahead and re-enable our ambient blend. And now you can see that the entire space, the entire scene is lit up. We have our back room lit up, turned on. We have the side to side filling in this back part of this room. And then we have these side to side flash pops right here to light up the forefront of this room. But you can see that this color is not correct. And part of that is coming from a darkening layer that's set to color. So I'll go ahead and turn that off to see what it gives us. It's a slight difference. If I come in here, you can see that it's quite yellowish, quite orange. And if I turn off, you can see how that changes color. But it's still quite discolored here. And in other parts of the image, whoops. Now, in order to bring back the correct color, I always said what you want to do in creating your ambient blend is you want to create this secondary color layer. The first one is a 50% luminosity blend. The second one is set to color, also set to 50% opacity, but it has a black layer mask on it. So now what I'm going to do is do a Control Command I to invert that mask. You can see that now that mask is enabled. If I were to come back into this wall, if I disable it, look at that color, how it's not correct. It's yellowish, it's orangish. It's not exactly looking like the wood that we want it to, compared to where we reapply that 50% blend for the color layer, and that looks a lot nicer. If I were to set it to 100%, that definitely doesn't look good. So I would rather have that around 50%. And now you can see that it fixes a lot of the wood. It fixes all of the wood. But if I disable it, and you look here on these cushions, these red cushions, this red couch, this orange chair, that's a nice color. And if I re-enable that color layer, it actually starts to wash out those colors. So with the white mask enabled, and B for brush with a black background, or a black, foreground color, we'll go ahead and just brush back the color that we do want, which is basically this floor, these cushions, and this chair. I don't want to bring back the walls. I do want to bring back this wood right here from the table. Okay, that looks nice. That looks nice. Bring back some of this. Actually, that takes it away. Don't need that. Now you can see that if I disable it, how that affects it. And if I disable the mask, how that affects the color down below. So this is looking nicer, looking a lot nicer. What we could do from here is go ahead and start working on our window pulls. So for these, they're all set to screen. I'm going to go ahead and set them to darken. I'll disable and working on one by one. M for marquee, just going to draw a quick box around this to make a selection. I'll mask that out. That's good, but it's not perfect. Let's go ahead and brush out the parts that we don't want. Easy and quick. Okay, next window. I'm just going to set up black mask. B for brush. And just brush that in. Brush out the parts that I don't want by switching from a white to black foreground. There we are. I didn't do a window pull or I did do a window pull, but as you can see here, that window pull is too dark, so I'm not going to include it. I'll actually just delete it. It's not necessary. There we are. And this is looking quite nice, I would say. Next thing we want to do is this HDR ambient file that's below here. This is our safety. You like to use it to see where we came from. But in this instance, what I'm going to do is going to bring this all the way up to the top. I'm going to make a selection by hitting W for quick select. I'll select that white ceiling. Re-enable this HDR ambient. Hit it with a mask. And this is slightly too dark. So what I would like to do is hit this thumbnail For the HDR ambient, I'll do a Control Command M for marquee, and this will bring up the curves. I will go ahead and raise that to taste. Looks nice. And what this is doing is getting rid of these flash pop shadows that arise from the side to side flash pops. You can see this one right here. This is the side to side flash that we blended, and it's causing this long shadow to occur off this light. We don't want that. So we're using that safety layer for the HDR ambient to bring back the ambient at a normal layer blend at 100%. Now that looks nice. I can do a Control Command U to lower the saturation a little bit, get rid of the color cast that was appearing in parts of that ceiling. We're going to raise that a little bit more on the lightness. Okay, that looks great. Now we can start to finish this off. Do a Control Command, Alter Option, plus Shift, plus E to merge all visible. Do a Command or Control, plus Shift, plus A to bring up our camera raw. Hit it with an auto, see what it gives us. That's not bad. Gonna bring back the shadows. Now let's go and raise it just a little bit. Hit those blacks. I don't want to crush them, so we might have to raise the shadows a little. That's okay, that looks nice. Whites, I'm just holding down Alter Option and clicking on the white, holding on the white slider to see what is overexposed versus what isn't. Anything that's overexposed will show up as white or as a color. And you can see here that that red is what's overexposed compared to over here. When I let go, you can see that is looking a little too bright. So let's bring back that white to where we only have a few specks. That looks a lot better. That looks a lot better. We'll go ahead and hit OK. This right here is throwing me off. I don't like that, so I'm going to go ahead and hit delete to delete that. Reselect that mask. And let's brush that. There we go. Now I can do a Control Command plus Alter Option plus Shift plus E to merge all visible again. I'm going to do a Control Command plus Alter Option plus F for frame to re-enable those changes that we made through the last camera raw adjustment. That's a quick and easy way of reapplying those adjustments. Then from here, I'll do a Control Command M from our key to bring up the curves. If you don't know where your curves is at, you can go to Image, Adjustments, Curves. We'll pinch this right here in the middle, bring it up to the top, ever so slightly. Do the same thing, pinch this right here in the middle, bring this one down. This is going to be how I make a slight S curve to bring in some shadows and contrast. Not necessarily shadows, but to bring in the contrast. You can see this is with it applied, this is with it not applied. So I kind of like adding a bit of contrast to my images. And then from here, all we have to do is just apply our favorite sharpening tool. You can use Lightroom. I like to use Lumenzia, or not Lumenzia, I'm sorry, Raya Pro for this step. It's all the same. And last thing I forgot, let's go and merge these. Control Command E. I'm going to go ahead and Control Command J to duplicate this darkened layer. Bring this up to the top. I will make a selection of this TV. And there we are. Now you can see how that wipes out, because it's already set to darken this layer right here. So since I'm using my darken color repair, and this is already a black screen, all I have to do is just bring this up to the top, make the selection. As long as it's set to darken, it's going to darken out that screen over anything that is too bright, like that flash reflection. And there we are. I would say that that is a finished image. So now that you know how to photograph and edit wood, you shouldn't really have too many issues when it comes to flash ambient real estate photography. Though if you do, I'm always here to help out. I love to help out as much as possible, so drop a comment below if you have any questions. Thank you to everybody who comes out and supports the channel. I always appreciate each and every one of you. You all take care and have a great day.